Hey Soul Tribe, it's Kate and Kerry.
We are so excited to have you hear this new episode. Please review and subscribe at the end. It's free and it helps us keep spreading our message to you, our awesome listener. Thanks so much and enjoy the episode.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Soulsessed Twins. I am Kate, your host in New York.
And I'm Kerry, your host in California. And we are, again, so excited to bring this episode to you. It's all about expectations and how detrimental they really can be to your life and those around you in particular.
Yeah. So, the topic of expectation. When can it positively serve us and when can it quite literally ruin your life?
And relationships.
Which I have more of the experience of the latter, ruin my life.
Yeah, me too. We're new to how it can benefit you.
Well, this was interesting. So doing research on this, seeing that expectations are good in a work environment. So because it's almost used as like a boundary, it sets up what is expected of how much time and energy to put into a specific project.
Yeah.
And can give the employee more focus and overall pleasant environment for everybody, because everybody knows what each other is to expect from the other.
Yeah.
It's better focus.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. It's like goals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Pin yourself.
Oh.
Same. Yeah, I mean, expectations can be like a roadmap, right? You have like an idea of where you're going, but as long as they're like in work, they're clearly laid out and everyone knows about them and where you're going. So how they can ruin your life and ruin relationships is when they're only in your head and nobody else knows what you're expecting, expectations.
Right.
Because you didn't tell them.
Because what?
Because you didn't tell them.
Right. And the same thing positively, same for teachers and students, because studies show that students work harder and more effectively when teachers are clear on what they expect from them.
Yeah. And the thing about though expectations, knowing where you're going and where they can get us in trouble too, even with the teacher and what the teacher expects of the student can glom on to the goal so much and feel so much pressure and stress to just get to this achievement where they're not really at that level. So they're missing how to get there because they're not truly able to, do you know what I mean? Perform because they're not, sometimes students vary with where they are. And that's where expectations can get you into trouble. When you're expecting somebody to be able to do this and achieve that, when they're not fully at that level.
Can you hear my lawnmower guy, my gardener? No. Okay, good.
No.
Just want to make sure. Sorry. Yes, it's just this is like the overall like laying of the land, basically. And then as you go, it's like even think about sports. Definitely useful for a coach to set an expectation for the team and the individual player. Like, so you have something to work toward, like a goal of making the finals. Everyone knows now how much time and effort to put in and what the goal is. Of course, along the way, you'll have people at different levels and different strengths and weaknesses, but everyone now is on the same page of what's expected of them. I even get that from like the town you grow up in. Like the town we grew up in was excellence. It was like it had this reputation of excellence. It was an excellent school, it was excellent sports, all of it. And so even before the coach or the teacher set their own expectation, I knew the expectation of our town to be great,
Yeah.
to be the best.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess too, like with the teacher and the student example, giving a broad expectation is what I mean, where you can get in trouble. But I imagine the teacher and the student would get more individualized on a plan on what they would expect from each student. So that's how it can really be beneficial. Um, yeah, and absolutely with our town, I knew immediately. I mean, it is so interesting that you say that, because it's like that was just, it seems like we were just born.
Kelly told me, my son told me that at 2 o'clock
Really
around the
too.
country, we're all going to be getting this national alert. And here we are, 2 o'clock.
That's so weird. Billy told me that yesterday too. I thought he was like not, I was like, okay, good. Wow.
Did you hear mine?
No. Did you hear
Oh,
mine?
I heard yours a little bit.
That was wild. Yeah.
Gosh, a lot of interruptions today. Sorry.
Should have been expecting that one.
Good one.
But yeah, I feel like we were like immediately born into it. Like it just was surrounding us right off the bat of what was expected of us.
Yeah, I think too, like you really don't realize how much expectation plays in your everyday until you study it. Like even having expectations of writing and this episode and doing research on this, I was like, we're gonna bang this out in like 1, 2, 3. Let's record Tuesday when we really record on Fridays. And then when I started doing it, I was like, fuck, nope. Let's stick to Friday because I expected it to be easy and reality said otherwise. And I got disappointed. And there it is. That's the whole Megillah with expectation.
And you got disappointed because you thought it was going to be quicker and simple, and it was turned out to be no, the same in-depth process.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, so there you are. There you have it. And personally, right? So on like when you have your own personal expectations, just how they really can limit your entire experience and personal growth and development on where you're going with something, because you're not present to be able to see maybe, something comes your way and you would be going down the path a little differently, or another interest showed up that would assist the project or whatever. But when you're so tunnel visioned on one outcome and where the outcome should be, you miss all that. And it just creates such stress and pressure and not enjoyment, where, and, lack of creativity, because you're just so tunnel visioned on one outcome, where you really miss out on the innovation that can really be revealed throughout the project.
This was so cool. So I was on doing research. This website, verywellmind.com, laid out expectations versus reality trap and uses the example of the Charles Dickens novel, Great Expectations,
Mm.
and lays out that problem. The main character, Pip, inherits money from a secret benefactor, and he views this fortune as a stepping stone to marrying the girl of his dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And when he ultimately learns that the money was not necessarily part of that larger plan, he realizes that he had taken for granted so many important relationships and gifts in his life because his expectations had robbed him of fully appreciating his reality.
And what came his way.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. I still haven't read that book. So that's a nice synopsis. Thanks for the summary.
We'll add that to our book club future.
Yes. Yeah, that's so wild. I mean, that really is it. And why people, always stress, enjoy the process, enjoy the process. And expectations really take us away from that, or can, right? they're really great to, you know, have as like an idea of where you're going. But when you're so locked in on it has to be like this, or it has to result like this, you really can miss out on so many things that are happening now that you didn't anticipate, you didn't plan for, that, you know, you weren't thinking about. That is the beauty of being in the moment and on the path right now, that you can be shortchanged from when you're just so locked in on an outcome.
I really learned about expectation when I got sober. And I heard for the first time, expectation is a resentment waiting to happen. Like, boom, that hit me like a ton of bricks, because then did I realize how much almost everything in my life had expectation tied to it. Because how did I know? I was so fucking angry all the time.
Yes.
Because it's true. It's like expectation just sets you up for resentment. It sets you up to be disappointed because, yeah, you're, like Kerry is saying, like locked in on an outcome rather than
The
whatever.
process.
Yeah, the process. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, which is why it's like that's what I had written down, was like expectations is such a setup for disappointment, especially with other people. And
Mhm.
so much about expectation is that it lies in your head. It's
Mhm.
like, it's so interesting. It's like you're just projecting this result that nobody else knows about, but they should be just getting there. And why the fuck aren't you doing it? And what is wrong with you? And what the hell? But you never voiced what you expect. So it just creates so much conflict and misunderstandings.
That would be like the expectation would be what an example of that, excuse me, Andy, my husband, will see a jacket rolled up in a ball in the closet, and I would think he should know to pick it up and put it away. And when he doesn't, I get sore because I had an expectation in my mind that someone would do something that I would do, just expect it, right? But in reality, I need to ask for things I would like to get done. And
Yeah.
then after the 100th time of asking him, go to go to plan B and get acceptance that he will never be what I want him to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know there's so many things like that that are just such, we don't even realize it. And we're so right about it. You're so locked in, like, oh, you know, they just don't do this, but you've never told them. And or you don't realize that it's an expectation that you have. And so many times I think people should be like this because I am. And
Mhm.
it's like, no, you have to meet people where they are and how they are, not how you are, right? And communicate your needs. I mean, it would just be so irritating to me. And I'd be like so mad that I would have to say I would like something this way. Because it was like, it's so fucking obvious. And what is wrong with you? And like, can you do it this way? Why would I have to tell you when it's so obvious? And it's like, it's not obvious to somebody else. They don't think of things like that, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. It's feelings in a relationship, like just set off major wars because we're not communicating when in reality we are responsible for expressing our own feelings,
Yeah.
right? In order to be understood or heard or comforted, whatever the expectation is that we have to explain it in order to get that fulfilled in a way or know that it won't be.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was going to say that too. Just because you tell somebody you want it this way, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. They may say, I don't do it that way. I do it this way. And then you're like, "Mm, okay, no problem."
Or what about, when I expect a friend to be a certain way or fulfill a specific need of mine, when they don't, and then get upset or mad at them for not being what I envisioned them to be for me.
Yes.
Or like, when in reality, I need to not put people in boxes. I think they should fit into my life and allow them the box they are truly meant to be in for me. I learned that so hard along the way, like wanting, like just a simple example of just saying, like, I want to be closer with this person because they fit this ideal that they are going to fulfill X need for me. And it keeps failing. They just are more of a fair weather friend. They just keep, and I keep fighting it. I'm expecting, but that's not my expectation of you. That's what, once we say, all right, wait a minute, I'm disappointed. I thought she would be more like this for me, but it's looking like she fits in more of this box for me. Until we get to that point of expectation of limiting it, we're going to be suffering and
Yeah.
always in that combative state.
Yeah. And it's blame. You're blaming them for how you're feeling when you're the one that actually is expecting it to be a certain way that it is not. So it's not their fault. You're thinking it should be some other way.
Mhm.
I know. And also, too, what was such a growth experience for me was realizing that wanting a friendship to be this certain way and the person needing space or doing whatever they're doing. And for me to not think I should have a reason why, they should tell me why or what's going on. It's like, it's none of my business. Leave people alone. Let it sort of go its way and go its path and take whatever direction it's going to take. May come back to you. They may need a minute or they're busy. You know what I mean? But you can't demand an explanation or a reason. And that was really powerful for me. I tell you, it was really mature, if I must say. And lo and behold, giving some space, and the person came back, around and we're friends and all that. But it was so nice to just allow that and for me not to feel so crushed and hurt, but to allow the thing to go how it was going to go and change my expectations of the relationship and how it should be. And, I felt so much less. I was upset about it. I felt down, but then I didn't. It was like, who even knows how this will end up? But it is what it is, and that's all right. And shifting my ideas of how it should be and how I wanted it to be, grieving that, and
Mhm.
then getting to how it is. And it was like, oh, yeah, I'm expecting this to be a different way.
Yeah, you really, the expectation, you really miss out on the understanding and belief that God has a bigger plan for us, that we're not in, running this show, and that we don't just get to pick and choose the people that are in our life and how they're going to be in our life. That whole saying of in our life for a reason, a season, or forever.
Yeah, it's so funny you said that because I took a step back and was able to, like, okay, I was able to form other relationships that means so much to me today, where I was glomming on to this one relationship, I wouldn't have had the other ones show up. It's so amazing. And
Yeah, because then you're opening up. Once you let go of that, you open up to the person who will fit that box. Right?
exactly. Oh my God, totally. And finding out, like, oh my God, how cool other people are. And, yeah, exactly.
Then I was thinking too about expectations on what a certain achievement will bring you. So like, if I go to law school, that's going to give me the prestige. If I go, if I become an actor, then I'm going to be so fulfilled. Or if I lose weight and I get the body that everybody wants, then I will be happy. And having these expectations on things or achievements, really, to find out that when you get to the end of it, it didn't fulfill you in the way that you expected it to.
Yeah.
And, it goes back to that is, expectations can make you pursue the wrong goals, all because you believe that something is the way to happiness.
Yeah.
Something is the way to fulfillment of any way.
Yeah, it's really to be able to look underneath, like, why do I have this expectation? What is driving me to want to achieve this? And to really see, a lot of the time, we're driven by self-worth, a lack of it, a lack of self-esteem, or a need that was never met, right? Especially like with a partner or a friend, to look at it, it's like, wow, I never felt listened to, or I feel like I don't matter, right? When you're expecting them to do this or do that, if they don't do it, you end up really feeling so disappointed because there's an underlying need that wasn't met that you're placing on them. It's like misdirected needs that have to get fulfilled through you and the work of healing, which is what, Kate and I talk all about.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
that too, yeah, like the achievements and stuff of, a goal like that, if it's so driven and has to happen, it can be because your self-worth is all wrapped up into it. And that's when you're going to feel like you matter and you are a person, or you made it, right?
and taking you out of the moment that you could have enjoyed, your everyday life, because you're so focused on when I get, okay, then I'll be happy,
Yeah.
right?
When I get, then I'll be.
Mhm.
So, no.
And then too, like I was thinking about what about expectations that someone will respond a certain way based on something that I do. So,
Yes.
all right, well, I'm going to be really nice and I'm going to offer this thing so that they will behave this way with me. And you keep doing that. Your expectation is to change them. Your expectation is to have them fall in line the way you want them to be. So
Yeah.
you'll do this. And then when you do all of those things and they still don't act according to your plan, what happens? You get pissed. You
Yeah.
get, you're disappointed. It's all of that. The expectation. That's like fully the full blown like manipulation of.
Just gonna, yeah, the manipulation of expectations. I was gonna say that's like utter manipulation, but it's true. And sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it. But that's why this is so good to be awakened to, of like, oh my God, like think about things you're pissed about with somebody and think about why. Because you were expecting it to go some other way, or you did something that you thought would elicit a certain response from them, and it didn't. And it's like, that's not on them. That's on you. Like,
Well, I used to live that way. Like that's what I was saying. Like before I got sober, like that was literally my formula for life. Was like, oh, if I, it was like, let me,
manipulate.
yeah, let me manipulate. Let me, try to like do whatever I can in some kind of like, manipulative form. And you're going to do what I want you to do now. Now, and this is how you're going to be. This is how you're going to act. This is the deal's going to happen if I act this way. Then, like, my expectation of things going according to my plan rather than what's really in store for me. You also, too, is like, with expectation, you miss out on when things don't go according to plan. That is the plan, that you are being taken care of instead of this major disappointment, instead of the anger and life sucks and what the fuck and this person and all of that. When we let go of the expectation of things and people, we then allow life to unfold, but in a positive way. We see things positively happening for us instead of against us.
Yeah, exactly. And just how when things don't go our way, that is a redirection on our path. That was actually a protection, which was another episode we had, right? Rejection is God's protection and redirection. And it's so true. It's like then you're going throughout your day feeling like, something didn't happen and you're less like, oh my God, you less have a will about every single thing and the direction it should take and the result it should have. It's more just, okay. And then you can see, oh, well, then I can do this instead. Or, you get to see the blessing in disguise about it all and the silver lining.
Yeah. And like, for an example, for me and you, we're both in real estate, like if a deal doesn't go through and, in the beginning also too, I mean, different circumstances too. When I first started out in real estate, I was in Manhattan. I was still drinking. I had probably nickels to my name. So the desperation was definitely there. If I didn't get a deal, yes, it was definitely different. But over time, because during real estate in Manhattan, I got sober. I learned that there's a reason for my benefit that this didn't go through, that I will see down the road. Something would have happened, a bigger error, a bigger letdown than this, and I'm being protected.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just so true. Losing like a big deal, even recently, it's like, I don't see it. Now I see it. I'm like, who knows? I mean, you could have a lawsuit constantly blaming you for some shit. I mean, it's just, I'm telling you, you really do get there. Like, you know what? This had to be protection.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So when expectations outweigh reality, it is an indication that we're not appreciating what we do have.
Yeah.
And so to combat that is gratitude, is appreciating what we do have in the daily moment. Because it is true. It's like when we do think of it like that, like, oh, wow. It's like for me to see expectation is to visualize reaching.
Yeah.
Like it was like a reach because it's at the end. You're focused on an outcome of things instead of letting things unfold, instead of the present moment of what is naturally occurring.
Yeah. Instead of the process of it. Yeah. True.
Then I saw too on this other website that I saw, let me see, medium.com. This is a very good website, actually. I was like really pleased to see this. The author had said, have aspirations in place of expectations. So aspirations mean that you have goals to work toward and the desire to achieve more without the added pressure of expecting it.
Yeah.
So it's more a mindset than it is the result.
Yeah. I don't like the word expectation at all. I think aspiration, it's like inspiring. Aspiration is inspiration, right? I think expectation is just, it feels bad. Like it feels like a setup.
Greedy. It
It
feels
feels, what?
greedy. Like it's like greedy.
Well, it feels like a setup. It just feels like you already lost. You know what I mean? It just feels like you're shortchanging the entire process and you failed already. You may get to this thing, you may not. It just feels like negative. It feels negative
Mhm.
and cut off. You really cut yourself off from the whole thing. Aspiring is like I said, it's inspiring.
Mhm.
And you're like in the path of like the excitement of the thing you're going toward, and it's like good energy, right? And you're just like, oh my God, it's exciting. And like, all right, how's this thing going to come together? You have an idea where you're going, but so many things will be revealed as you go. And it's just like this adventure rather than this just like grindstone, nose to the grindstone, let's go, go, go. And it just sort of sucks the magic out of everything that you're trying to go for.
Yeah, you miss out of the whole experience. The
Yeah.
whole way of getting to the end is like gone.
Yeah, you blew the magic show. Magic show's over, trick is revealed. This sucks. Let's get it done.
And talk about just like 24/7 cortisol. You're so fucking
Exactly.
stressed to get to the result that you want to be in. Like how fun is that? Like where, right? You're so stiff and to like, God, you have like this utter mission of like, God damn it.
Totally.
My expectation met. I'm gonna do it. Like, until you don't, until
Yeah. And also, too, it shortchanges you in the correct assessment of what you need in order to get there. You're so focused on this big thing or little, whatever it is. You're focused on a certain outcome that you're trying to grind your way to, that you may not even have a proper assessment on if you can do it. You know what I mean? How many times I'm like, I'm doing this? And I have zero capacity or capability or ability to achieve that thing. That's not possible for me. Okay. So talk about a setup for disaster and failure and feeling like a failure. So it leaves so much error on the table. You're not even properly assessing things or yourself, right?
Mhm.
So you really, with aspiration or a dream or a vision, you're really putting in place like, okay, like you're more thinking about the process and what it will take in a lighter sense. Because I just feel expectations, you're just immediately in it. And if it doesn't happen, you go blow up. You didn't properly assess the situation.
Yeah, and also to be able to say, okay, this is something that I'm aiming toward and let go of the result.
And how to get there.
Yeah, just like, all right, this is what, there's a hope. There's certainly, this I'm good. But once you do that, then the focus becomes on the plan, like your everyday of like, how can I achieve? There's the aspiration of like
Yes.
achieving, working toward a goal. There's that desire to achieve more and without the added, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's the same thing with Soulsessed Twins and like,
Yeah.
our venture right now, it's amazing. We're starting to set our vision and our goals, but right now it's really about enjoying the process and us. And like, if something comes of it, something comes of it, but we're not missing out on the daily. That's for sure.
Yeah. And also too, like so many things that, Kate and I have just been in this process of like so many different things came our way that are just like, oh, and now we're like, we've done a few other things, you know, that will take us possibly in this direction, or this could happen, or maybe this could. And so, we have an idea of wanting to help people, right? And putting this out there. And so many other avenues are coming our way because we're open to all of it.
Yeah. I feel like the expectation is to help people, right?
Mhm.
Is to be of service. That's as far as my expectation is going. Where it's going to take us, we have no fucking clue.
And for us to have fun.
For us to have fun and to be together and all of that. But I feel like that type of expectation, having no expectation, but wanting the goal is to be of service. The goal is to help people that are, before, have yet to come to where we've been,
Yeah.
right?
To where we are.
Where we are.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like then it's just like lead us. Yeah, guide
Yeah.
us, lead us, God, you got us. Like show us what to do each day. And then these thoughts and these ideas and these people come into our life. And it's like, what?
Yeah. It's so true. we're just like, all right, now show us how to be the most of use. What
Yep.
will it be? So it's really, really amazing. Yeah, I think that expectations with people, I just want to sort of go back to that because I think that people, everyone has such an idea of how people should be and in their life, and to really take a step back to like, no, I don't know. And just to be on that, I think that it just causes so much heartache and trouble and disappointment when you don't realize you have expectations going, and, to just sort of, people are how they are.
I think it's the culprit of estrangement. I think it's the culprit of a lot of estranged relationships. And if we could be honest, like, with ourselves and to say, what happened here? What was I expecting from this person? What
Yeah.
did I think, what did I want to happen that didn't? And when you see it that way on both sides, it's kind of, it's, it's it's more easily remedied, I think, because then you see each other as being fallible, as being human. Because even what you were saying before, Kerry, about not, and me too, about like not putting expectation on others, it's, you start to see like, I wouldn't want that expectation on me.
Yeah.
I know how that feels. Like when I think someone's expecting something of me that I can't live up to, it's a lot of pressure. It's
Mhm.
a lot, and it's a lot, it almost puts us in like a freeze zone. And it's like, oh, now I know why that relationship fell apart or why it didn't work out the way I thought it would, because we are putting so much pressure on each other to be what we want and think we should be, instead of allowing the relationship and the universe and God to dictate who's what in our universe, in our worlds.
Yeah, exactly. And, even with our kids, wanting our children to, expecting them to be on a path that isn't meant for them, right? Or a timeline, expecting them to be on, be quicker with something, or, better at something, or be doing this thing that they don't like, they're not interested in, or it will take them longer to get to where you think they ought to be. But
Mhm.
I remember like wanting my son to be into sports, right? And play soccer and, get him into soccer when he was 3 or 4, like everyone does, right? And he didn't like it. And I was like, oh no, because I know how good sports can be for me as a person. They helped me a lot. So I was like, I want him to have something. And, it's good for kids to be interested in something. But I had to let it go and think, well, maybe it's music. Well, maybe it's something else. And he's going to be the one that dictates what his interests are. I'm not. And when. And sure enough, down the road, he wasn't ready for sports at 3 and 4. He really came into his own and started playing basketball and was started to get really into it in first and second grade, right? So, and then I was like, oh, but I let the reins go and the expectations of where I thought he should be headed and when, and being open to all of it. I was like, maybe he'll be into drama, maybe he'll be into science or art making, or, uh, build something, right? Like write a book.
Yeah.
No, it just was his own timeline. And, any pressure was like, fuck off. He felt it immediately. And he's a stubborn, defiant kid. If he knew I wanted him to do something and be a certain way, he was completely like, great, I'm going to be the opposite. So I had to let go, because like my friends like, well, I make my son, well, he's playing soccer, and I'm like, Billy doesn't do that. Okay, he tells me birds up when he was like 3.
Nor should he. I mean, should he have to do it? I know we see all of that too, just, trying to relive our own glory days and what we think, what we expect our kids to be. I know.
Yeah.
There it
And
is.
wanting them to achieve things we didn't. It's like, I knew I'd feel this way if I did. So
Yeah.
you will feel this way if you do. I want that from you. And it's good intentions. It really is. But it's not our decision or choice. It's theirs and what God has them here for,
Mhm.
right? That we get to experience. Same thing with a spouse or whatever, right? Or I love that example, Kate, of somebody having expectations of you. It really helps when you see that, see your own expectations of others and how unfair they are, right? And, either getting to accepting, like I made up a lot of how I thought my spouse was, and seeing that and then getting to the reality of it, either, they're who they are, you can accept and be with, or it was too different than how you imagined it to be. It's either too different or you can get to, okay, this is the reality. Let's build from there. Or
Mhm.
it just was too made up.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, this is the battle, I think, of a lot of relationship, and a lot of our trouble really does stem from this one word, because expectation, it just fuels our feelings, our thoughts, our actions, our beliefs of what something should be. And if we, interfere till, we ruin, like, into the ground with something, you're going to ruin it. You're just, it's not going to go well.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, the cortisol, you expectations like that, you're literally living in fight or flight. You're
Mhm.
just like grinding and fighting and driving and demanding, and and it's just, what way of life is that? So when you really do get more into, things are going to go how they go. I have an idea of what I want to happen, but how I'll get there will be revealed along the way. Man, is it so much lighter. It's so much nicer, right? For your whole being and everyone around you. And you just be in like the fun of, ooh, what's going to come my way today? Or how will this happen? Or what's going to happen with them? Right? You get curious to even know who the person is. Like I got to then really experience who my son was in the moment and not
Mhm.
miss out on the time and the place where he was right then. And then
Mhm.
like, oh, and develop into who he's going to be and really get to know him, who he truly is. Same
Mhm.
thing with a friend, or same thing, and a spouse. You get to really see like, oh, they're actually really like this. They're really great. Or
Mhm.
not, but you get to really see that.
Right.
Meet, hey, you, and two, you're holding someone else to a standard. Are you? Are you up to that standard?
Yeah,
Right?
goes both ways for
Yeah.
sure. So I also thought into the tools, right? So really needing to express our own needs and feelings for the other person, not just have expectation that they're going to know what we want. The tool of, instead of expectation, have the aspiration, right? There's the achieve, the wanting to achieve that, having that goal in mind, and giving yourself the desire to do it. So it's in the everyday. I also love a tool that I use to prevent resentment and or letdown for work, or for people, but it really does come and play with work, is that asking the party when I can expect to receive X,
Mm.
whatever it is. So it actually gives both parties a realistic expectation and how to prioritize their time. So if
Yeah.
I,
And
when can I expect to see the project? Right?
and
So
accountability.
yeah, and then they get to prioritize their day. Like, well, let me think about that. When can I realistically get, because I'm looking for a real date. I'm not, it's not, now it's tangible for both sides, and they can realistically plan out their day to give me a realistic date. And then you set yourself up for success when you do it that way.
Absolutely. That's so good. Hmm. Oh,
Um,
and also too, we sort of glazed over something you mentioned too, gratitude.
and that was the other one. Yeah.
Really getting into the present moment of how things are, what good is going on now, how things are, and really being grateful for that. It really pulls you into the present of what you do have and that positive energy of then just going from there.
Hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. Just appreciating what we do have. Because again, the expectation is that reach.
And
If
that you don't have what you want or need
you
already.
Mhm. Right, and that you don't have what you want or need already, right? Because a lot of times, yeah, we do. We're so focused though on the future.
Exactly.
Not
And
on
what we don't have. I
Mhm.
expect it, like, right? So it's like the demand. And it's like, no, get to what you want this thing, that's great. Express it. You have to communicate
Mhm.
and go from there.
Well, I hope this was helpful, guys. I sure as hell got a lot out of it. It's just like such a good reminder
I
of like,
know. I was
right?
gonna
Just
say, wow, I learned a lot. This was really good.
it's a mindset instead of a manipulation. Mm,
Love it.
I
That's a
like.
good way to end. The mindset rather than manipulation.
So chicas, chicos, whoever, Soul Squad, check us out on Instagram anytime. Continue to reach out to us. We love hearing from you. Any topic suggestions, anything that you want to run our way, feel free to DM us. As always, we're here for you. We're delighted to be here together with each other and trying to help one other person out there.
Yay! Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Yep. See you next week. Get soul cessed.
Stay tuned, guys. We are thrilled to be here with each other, and feel so privileged to try and carry a message of hope and positive change to one other person out there. So please subscribe and review and share our podcast to reach that person. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Soulsessed Twins and get daily inspo and connect with us.
Let's build this community together.
100%. So come back next week and we'll see you then.
Get soul cessed with us, Soul Tribe.
That's it. Bye, guys.